NCSW, Executive Director, Communications Director. Oh, where's, I thought Darlene was. She's walking around. So, if you haven't, Darlene is over there in the emergency. So if you haven't already signed in, these ladies need you to be able to sign in so we can be able to share information with you. Also, ladies' room is out the door to the left. Because I was like, wait a minute, which way did I walk? So out the door to the left if you need that. And we ask that you please put your phone on silent or vibrate. We don't have a problem with pictures and so on. But first we have to put the announcement. We are streaming today. So if you do not want to be on our camera on the screen.
Too bad.
Yeah, I don't know. Make sure you stay behind Ellen.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't want to be on the camera. But we should be on the camera. Because we are strong women and testosterone men in the room, allies, and strong with our strong allies. So we want to kick it off, we want to start and want to introduce our co-sponsors for today, the Massachusetts Caucus of Women Legislators, and their co-chairs, their chairs are going to come up and greet us. So Rep. Barber and Senator Kim.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, I guess. I'm Christine Barber, and I am the host co-chair of the Caucus of Women Legislators. I'll introduce my fellow co-chair.
Hello, everyone. Senator Robin Kennedy from Worcester. Good to see you all here today.
And we're so glad to be here and appreciate the partnership with the Commission on the Status of Women and also the Canadian Consulate of Boston. Thank you so much for hosting this event today. I do want to call out a few members of the House who have joined us this morning. So I know Rep. Shan is here. I'll get everyone with the sandwich in. Rep. Badger, Rep. Davis in the back, and Rep. Santiolo. Three of whom are first-year members, and we're really delighted that you guys have been here. So I work with a group of 60 senators and House members who are women legislators in the Commonwealth. We're at about 31% of the legislature and continuing to grow. This year's first-year class has, I think, 5 women, and we're so excited to continue to see our ranks grow. Our partnership, especially with the Commission on the Status of Women, has really helped us as a bicameral and bipartisan caucus to move issues forward. So issues like campaign funds for childcare, passing the Parentage Act last year, and passing wage and salary transparency are things that we've been able to move as a caucus as our priorities and things that we've been able to partner on with the Commission. So I want to thank all of you for your work in supporting women and girls across the Commonwealth and also in bringing those issues to us and helping us to get this. This year, our strategic priorities are elevating women's economic opportunities, addressing racial and gender disparities, and empowering women in government. And we are still working on our legislative plate, but we'll come out with those priorities shortly in the coming weeks. Really excited to continue. So I'm really looking forward to today's panel. With that, Senator,
thank you. Just want to echo what my friend and colleague and partner in this work has said, and look forward to hearing what the panelists have to share with us today. And again, look forward to continued ongoing partnership and relationship with the Mass Commission on the Status of Women. Women are growing in powers and numbers here, and look forward to our ways to uplift that work. So thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. Oh, that's me. So as you know, as you see in the picture, my name is Meredith Tuitt. I'm chair of the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women. I stand here today as the chair, but I also wear the hat as the president of the National Association of Commissions for Women. So this is an honor. March, Women's Month. Wow. You know, every month is Women's Month, but March brings it to the forefront, right? March is when we get people that typically don't acknowledge us to acknowledge us. International Women's Day this coming Saturday on the 8th is important. And we wanted to know how we would be able to be a part of International Women's Day and to launch off Women's Month. And we met Consul General Jordan about 2 months ago or so. And, Shaiti and I had a conversation, and Shaiti and Lisa put their heads together and was like, let's have a global conversation and have it the first week of March to kick us off. So here we are. So we want to welcome everyone that's in the room. I'm sorry we can't do an icebreaker and do a little something and get everybody to introduce and say who you are, but networking is important. If you have not met someone new in this room since you walked in the door, you have not done what you're supposed to do in the mission of the work for women, right? So before you leave, walk up to someone new, someone who you don't know, share a business card, be it in hard copy, be it digital, however you do it. And if you're old school and we got sticky notes, so you can write it down, put it in your journal somewhere, and make sure you meet someone new, right? So I want to tell you about the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women. We are a special state agency. Enabling language talks about impact and change for women and girls across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, right? Our mission is to uplift and to make sure that women and girls, that our legislative body, for appointing authorities, the governors, the Senate President, the Speaker of the House, and the Women's Legislative Caucus, hear from us. We go across the Commonwealth. There's 19 statewide commissioners on the MCSW, and we go across the Commonwealth to hear from our women, our girls, and from our allies. And our allies come from all across the Commonwealth, right? And you know who our allies are. They're our husbands, our brothers, our sons, our partners, our work husbands, yeah. So, we have to have those allies. And in that process, we learned that just the 19 of us were not enough. So we created 11 regional commissions across the Commonwealth. We have Berkshire, we have Bristol County, Bristol County. We have Hamden, Hampshire, Franklin. We have Plymouth. We have Middlesex. We have Upper Middlesex. We have Essex. We have Metro West. There's the map. Listen. So, there's my Vanna. That's our executive director, Shaiti Spruill. And we want to make sure that we hear everything. So that 19 became 103 voices, 103 with ears listening to women across the Commonwealth and our young sisters across the Commonwealth. And what's important to us is what's important to them. Stabilized housing. You notice I said stabilized, not affordable, right? We care about health care and health access. We care about maternal health. We care about youth development, youth health, a correct curriculum for our young people in education. We care about empowerment. We care about leadership. So our legislative priorities go from the I Am bill with menstrual products to parity on boards. We've done pay equity. We've done pay transparency. We are now doing the Healthy Youth again. We are now taking lead on the Parity on Boards Coalition this year. We are now part of national coalitions, the Equal Rights Amendment, right? For those young sisters, ERA stands for Equal Rights Amendment, okay? Just in case you didn't know the acronym, but that's something that we shouldn't be fighting for still. So the conversation we're gonna have today, global voices and the local impact, is important because everything that's happening globally it impacts us right here locally, right? So my next step is, after talking about myself, I want to introduce I didn't even talk about myself. Lord, I was supposed to introduce myself first. So Meredith Tuitt, United States Navy veteran, 14 years, all my hats, all my titles, a mother of two, and still moving on, still got more to go. I'm commander of my American Legion post and senior vice commander of my district in the American Legion. Okay, enough about me, right? So I want to introduce my sister to my left, Consul General Brendette Jordan from Canada.
So good afternoon, everyone, and happy International Day. I was gonna say Women's Day, but that's not till Saturday, but Women's Month. It's a great honor to be here today to share with you. I am the Consul General for Canada in New England, based here in Boston. And basically, the Canadian Consulate is the representative of Canada in New England. So we have 21 staff in our office, and we do everything from consular services like passports and helping Canadians who are in maybe get in trouble or who need help, to trade and investment relationships, to advocacy for Canadians. Some of you may have heard there's some news these days about Canada-US relationship. So we've been a little bit busy on making sure that the Canadian voice is heard here in New England. We do a lot of traveling between the 5 states that we represent. But it is really great to be here today to share with all of you some of the things that we're doing in Canada with regards to women and gender equity, and with regards to how, you know, some of the things that are working might be able to benefit you here in the US.
Thank
How's
you,
that?
thank you,
On
sister.
time?
That was on time. So, Anna, can you tell us how your agent, about yourself and what your agency does?
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ana Duran. I am the Consul General of Spain here in Boston, but I have a jurisdiction in New England, except Connecticut, which is under the jurisdiction of New York. I've been here for 3 years and a half now, and my assignment is for 5 years. So next summer 2020, I will suppose I have to move to the country or back to the ministry. I don't know if you don't know. Yeah, sure. I have been here for 3 years and a half now, and I am supposed to leave in August 2026. Where I will have to decide if I go back to the ministry or I continue my and I will probably know 3 months in advance because our ministry works like that. It's like last month. Yeah. I don't know how about Canada, but Spain we work like that. I'm taking care of the consulate, which has now 8,500 Spanish nationals. This figure has been increasing every day because when I arrived 3 years and a half ago, it was 200, which means like 25% more. And it is increasing, this figure is becoming bigger and bigger every day. On our daily life, we take care of the Spanish nationals, doing, as my Canadian colleague stated out, taking care of them, administrative issues like passports, notary services, registers, birth, marriages, and so on. And unfortunately, my consulate is not as big as yours because I have only 6 people for staff. And they are very focused on the Spanish nationals and also on the US students because for Spain, American students are a priority, considering the area we were here. And due to the high number of universities we have here, there are big amounts of students who want to go to study for Spain for PhD programs and so on. Because Spain is now in the top 1 in the list of all the European countries. And for us, this is a priority, as we normally call them, like ambassadors of Spain, because they have a very great experiences in Spain, and we want to repeat. And they will help us a lot to spread our culture. But apart from that, I'm very glad to be here today because apart from this daily life, I have every time I have the occasion to attend events like that, especially related to women. I try to do so. Thank you so much for organizing this together with the Consulate of Canada, and also thanks very much for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. Next, Fernanda.
Well, my name is Fernanda Sosa. I'm the Executive Director of Chile-Massachusetts Alliance, or Chile-Mas. And I'm deeply honored to be in this room today full of amazing women, and especially this inspiring group of panelists here. And in Chile-Mas, we are a nonprofit organization. We are located on the other side of the river in Cambridge. And we foster innovation and knowledge transfer between Chile and Massachusetts. This is a nonprofit that started after the signature of a memorandum of understanding between the two governments. And we are deeply committed with the knowledge economy. We think that knowledge has no borders. So we try to connect these two places and share best practices. So in concrete, we have three programs that we do. Like, we focus on education. We bring teachers from Chile because, you know, you have here the best public education in the US. So we try to learn what you are doing here and connect also the universities. You have the best universities in the world, a few blocks from here. So in education, we work a lot in entrepreneurship. We bring a startup from Chile to improve their technologies, and also we help startups from the US that they want to start in the Latin American market. Both ways. And finally, corporate innovation. And we do a lot of things with the corporations in general. And one program that I want to highlight, because we are in this room, is a program that we are launching this year, that we want to highlight the role of women in boardrooms. That I think is so important, because, you know, a company that has women in their leading positions clearly work better and is a better not only work environment, but also is more profitable. So there's so many benefits. So we try to have a lot of programs that can benefit both places, Massachusetts and Chile, with that idea of always sharing knowledge. That one.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we're gonna jump into what I call the fun part of today's discussion. We're gonna shift to questions, but they're not really questions. We're gonna have a talk. So I'm gonna start with Fernanda. Fernanda, can you tell us a little bit about your path to get to your role that you serve in?
Well, I'm a lawyer by trade. I was a lawyer in Chile, and then I came to the US 11 years ago. And I studied law again. I passed the bar and I did all that difficult stuff. And after that, like I working in a university here, and then I was called by the Embassy of Chile to work in these nonprofit organizations. And as such, I can see how we can help connecting these two places, and also work to help other women in this position. We as women, I think in leadership position, we can really make change. We can really move forward, trying to build those bridges and help other women that can follow us in our path. I have done so many things in my past. I started my first job was in a movement that was called Women in Action, if we can translate that like that, trying to balance work and family life. I think that's a huge problem that we have all women, women that have children. But the trying to balance those two things is so hard. It's like a silent cry of so many women that they need more support, they need more help on that. So that's one thing that I'm very passionate about, trying in my work life, trying to help other women in that.
Thank you. Anna, could you share a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I studied law in Spain, and I became a career diplomat in 2007. And after that, I've been working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Spain, in very different areas, such as African countries, and also European countries. But and I've been posted abroad 4 times. This is my 4th country. My first country, well, I made a traineeship at the Spanish Embassy in Ankara, Turkey, but it was just once. But as a full career diplomat, I was posted to Islamabad, Pakistan, which was very interesting because your first assignment is always special because it's the first one in your career. And I would like to point out that I never felt discriminated, even though I was in Pakistan. Of course, there are some rules, local rules you need to respect, but but apart from them, any problem at all. There were many women diplomats. I think it's very interesting. After Pakistan, I moved to Chile, where I spent 4 years. Then I moved back to Europe, to Slovenia, and then back to the ministry, where I stayed for 2 years and a half. And then in October 2021, I was having here since then. Considering my past here, I would like, but maybe later, I would like to focus on the Spanish foreign policy Spain is carrying out. But I will leave it for later. So
Thank you so much.
So I have a bit of a different path. I'm not a career diplomat. I actually came through politics. Since I was young, I was probably about 14. And I've told this story before in other rooms, so if you've been there and you've heard it, I apologize if I hear it again. I was about 14 years old when I told my dad I wanted to be the Prime Minister of Canada. And my dad said to me that although you would probably be very good, it's not going to happen because we don't elect women. And it wasn't that my dad didn't think I could do it. It was that back in the early 1970s, 76, 77, he wasn't wrong. We didn't elect a lot of women in Canada. The House of Commons only had maybe, I don't know, I think it was probably about 4 women at that point that were elected in the Canadian legislature. So I became very interested in politics at a very young age. And my goal in when I was growing up was always to run. It was always to someday be an elected official. I studied political science in university. And the year I turned 50, I made a list of things I wanted to do, like kind of a bucket list. And the first thing on it was run for office, because I'd put it off and put it off. And I kept saying, and I finally decided that don't look back on your life and say, I wish I would have. So I ran for office in 2015 for a federal seat. I won it. I was the first woman to be elected in my area, the district that I represented. You would call it district, we call it ridings. So if I say ridings, that's what I'm talking about. I was part of Justin Trudeau's government. In 2019, I was appointed to his cabinet. It's different in Canada than it is here. You have to be an elected member of parliament in order to sit in cabinet. So I was appointed to cabinet by Justin Trudeau in 2019. I became the Minister of Rural Economic Development. That made me the first woman from Nova Scotia to ever sit at the federal cabinet table. 150 years, and I was the first one. That was ridiculous. And then again in 2019, I became the Minister of Fisheries, Oceans, and the Canadian Coast Guard. So my trajectory in politics went quite quickly once I was elected. I left politics in 2021. I actually lost the election due to a file that was very difficult to manage. The fisheries file, when you live in a fishing community, is extremely challenging. But then I went back to working in a sector that I worked in a great deal, which was in fund development. And I worked for an organization that helped women leaving domestic violence. It's been a passion of mine for a long time. I did a lot of volunteer work in that. And then in 2022, I got a call from the Prime Minister asking me if I'd be interested in a diplomatic appointment. And I came here in 2020. When did I come here? 2024. Early 2024, January 2024. So I've only been here for about, I have to look at it. It's been kind of a crazy few weeks for us. So I've only been here since January of 2024. I am on a 4-year appointment. However, unlike you, who are a career diplomat, as a political appointment, I serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister, which means that if the Prime Minister changes in Canada, there's a chance that I would get called home. So that going in though in this role, it's been an honor to be an elected member of Parliament. It's been a great honor to be here in New England representing Canada. I feel like I still have a lot left to give, so hopefully I'll be able to stay for a few more years. But it's been a really not only an honor but a challenge too. When I came here in 2024, it was a very different world than it is right now between Canada and the US. So it's been interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. You see the trajectory. I love it. You know, sometimes we make a decision, we want to do something and we just jump in. They say, take that faith. So in your roles, can you think of something that are some of the best practices that have been accomplished in your country or in your organization that you think you would like to share with us that would be good for women and girls in Massachusetts and globally? So Anna, I'm gonna jump to you first.
I would like to make a statement of what my government has been doing the last 4 years. First of all, one of the first measures taken in this term, in 2023, was the approval of a law on equal representation and balanced presence of women and men. This law has allowed a significant progress to be made in breaking the glass ceiling that are existing, contributing to creating conditions of real equality of opportunity. Thanks to women and the tenacity of their demands, Spain is a feminist country today and has set out an international benchmark in terms of equality in the world. In 2023, Spain occupied the 4th position in the ranking of countries of the Gender Equality Index, which measures the level of gender equality achieved in the member states of the European Union. And since 2010, our score has increased by 10 points. We have also to point out the new law on cooperation for sustainable development and global solidarity, dated 2 years ago, which includes a commitment to contribute directly 8.7% of gross national incomes as an official development aid in 2030. And also, as I stated before, I would like to focus on the Spanish foreign policy. It has started 25 years after the Beijing Conference, achieving a real equality between men and women, which remains a pending challenge. Although significant progress has been made in the recent years, global data warn of persistent inequality and a risk of regression, especially nowadays, with the progress of certain movements, especially, and also after the COVID. The decision for my government to move towards a feminist foreign policy stems for the leadership assumed by Spain at the highest levels in recent years and the strong political commitment to advance in the achievement of the 22 gender and the sustainable development goals. The country, as I stated before, has become a benchmark at an international level due to all the framework and public policies which have been approved since then. Some areas which I would like to mention are the fight against gender violence, equality in the workplace, and conciliation policies. All this evolution indicators that the public policies implemented in recent years to make the principle of equality a reality have borne fruit. However, these advances should not lead us to inaction or complacency, but rather, on the contrary, encourage us to redouble our efforts to achieve real and effective equality with women. This next March 8, Spain renews its commitment to all women, to their rights and to equality. We all must thank feminism for its courage and the fundamental role it has played and will still play in the defense of democracy and human rights. In this gratitude, we cannot forget, in my case, the contribution and wealth that, despite the difficulties they may encounter, foreign women represent for my society, Spanish society, as well as Spanish women receiving a living. As we often heard on days that March 8, in the streets of many cities of Spain, every day is March 8. Not every month is Women's Month, but every day is March 8. So this is like more or less the path that the government has started toward a foreign policy. I can give more details. As for example, in 2021, Spain has become the 6th country in the world to declare a foreign policy terrorist. And today there are more than 15 countries that have incorporated gender equality and women's rights in foreign policy. So I must say that Spain has established itself as a reference country in feminist foreign policy. We have 5 priorities. The first is women, peace and security, and violence against women and girls. 3 is human rights of women and girls. 4 is participation of women in decision-making spaces. And 5 is economic justice and equality. We presented 2 years ago the Feminist Foreign Policy Action Plan, the objective of which is to organize the application of our policy, evaluate progress, and facilitate accountability in Parliament. As it could not be otherwise, the promotion of women to decision-making positions in our foreign service and the support of the appointments of women in management positions in international organizations is also at the core of our foreign policy. We have a diplomatic career which has started to get more feminine side, let's say, because 25% of our ambassadors are already women. A few years they were only 20%. And for example, the 2 most important foreign ministries in the world, which are Beijing and Washington, are held by women nowadays. And also the last promotions of diplomatic new diplomats, half of these new promotions are women. It has traditionally been a job stated for men, and it was very common for women to follow the husband and family. But now this situation has totally changed. So we will continue to pursue feminist foreign policy so we can respond to the pressing issues of our time, because conflict resolution and peace building, technological advances in artificial intelligence, climate change, and global governance pose major challenges that can only be addressed with the full participation of everyone, men and of course. So, as a conclusion, Spain is a progressive, diverse, and supportive country. And gender equality is a task that concerns all of us, men and women, because equality benefits the entire society.
No,
I have
thank you.
much more information, but just to,
Narrow it in. Love it, love it.
yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, Brenda, tell us about Canada.
So in 2015, I think that the catalyst to a lot of change with regards to feminist policy in Canada was the election of Justin Trudeau as the Prime Minister, as the Liberal government. You know, Justin Trudeau had stated right from the very beginning, it's actually one of the reasons that, I decided then was the time for me to go into politics, that he was a feminist and he believed strongly in feminist policy. And one of the first things he did was appoint a gender balanced cabinet. So all of them around the cabinet table, you had equal representation from men and women. And I think that really was a driving force to a lot of the policies that came from this government. At the very beginning, any legislation that was put forward had to have a gender lens on it to see how women would be impacted by the policy. But one of the things I'm most proud of, because I actually got a chance to work on it a bit, was the cabinet and the government pushed to get $10 a day daycare across the country. Recognizing that this is an economic issue, it is not a social, it does help socially, but it is actually getting more women in the workforce. So Canadians now pay $10 a day for childcare. And that is a significant amount of commitment from the government, both federal and provincial, because our provincial governments had to be involved in this process. Of course, they're the ones who are responsible for childcare, early childhood and education. So it was a full court press, but the difference that will make to our GDP is significant. It's putting women back in the workforce that had to choose between whether or not they went back to work after they had children or whether they stayed home. I had 3 children in 4 years. I worked to keep my kids in daycare. And a lot of people, I was very fortunate. I recognize that privilege. I want to say that right away, that we were able to do that because I knew that a 7-year gap in my resume was going to impact my ability to make a living. So I think that the $10 a day daycare or childcare, I should say, has really made a huge difference in how women are able to access, the workforce, how they're able to plan for their futures. And the other thing too that I'm expecting to see, we don't have the data yet, but one of the highest rates of poverty in Canada was senior single women who had lost their spouse, but were reliant on their spouse's income because they never worked outside the home as they were, raising families. So they actually would be in poverty at the death of their spouse. This program, I believe, will change that direction. I believe that now that women are able to get back in the workforce, can contribute to pensions, can get their, be able to take advantage of programs that are available to them because they're in the workforce, we're going to see that poverty level decline over the years. So that's, I think, something that's that I'm very, very proud of, that this government has done. And I think that there's just been having that lens and having women at the table, women who are going to say, this is how this impacts women, makes a huge difference. So having that gender balanced cabinet has been the catalyst to so many different things with regards to, feminine foreign policy, and with regards to women in peace and security, with regards to, in terms of domestic issues, things like childcare, things like equity and equality. And I thought it was really interesting because when we were talking about equality on boards, at one time somebody had done a kind of a survey or a study, and they said there are more in Canada, more people named John on boards than there were women. And that, that just really drives home how much we need to do. So I think that would be kind of where I would come from a Canadian perspective, recognizing that childcare is a critical economic policy. So Canada is a massive country. We're the second largest country in the world, and our population is the same as California. We need people to do jobs. We need, we don't have the workforce necessary. And when you are stopping people from being able to work because of the cost of childcare, it does not make sense. So putting that policy in place has actually given access to businesses who are desperate for workers. It's a group that's right there in your community, that want to work. But the choices that they make is if I have to pay for childcare, I can't afford it. And I don't know about here. I shouldn't assume anything. Childcare in Canada was brutally expensive. I don't know what it's like here. Yeah, that's what I kind of thought. Yeah, and and the thing is that when a good friend of mine, she had a child, and she said by the time Oliver went to school, she could pay for university education for him. By the way, university education is a lot cheaper in Canada, but still, it would have been it would have been. And she says, everyone's telling you when you're pregnant, start saving for college. No one tells you need to start saving for daycare.
Childcare, yeah.
That was kind of the. So I think that's one of the things that I would be. Yeah. Aside from all of the other things, that's the one thing I think that has made a huge, significant difference to women in Canada.
I think so too. Everybody's in here. Their pens went to paper like
it's a significant. It was a huge investment. It was a lot of money, awful lot of money, but it became a priority. And it's what is your priorities? That's what you got to ask yourself. What's your priorities? And when the math is finished, at the end of the day, this is going to pay for itself. This is going to increase our GDP. This is going to increase our productivity. And so, yes, up front, the cost is significant. But in the long term, yeah, you got to take the hard before you get to the good, I guess.
Thank you so much for that. Fernanda, what can you tell us about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I cannot believe that we are in the 21st century and women have to think of choosing between career and family. And think about the fertility rate. It's something that is so concerning. You know, in the US it's 1.67, something like that. In Chile it's even a little lower. And here in New England is 1.4. You know, we need 2.1 to have to replace the population. So it's a serious problem. But we cannot deny that having to work. In the case of Chile, maternity leave, I think it's paid maternity leave. That is very important, the paid part. We have 6 weeks before giving birth and then 6 months totally paid, and you can extend up to 9 months. So it's way more, you know, and that's created a huge difference. And you know, that law passed almost 12 or 13 years ago in Chile and was very polemic. You know, a lot of people were against it, not because of women, but because of even women thinking this will damage our possibility to have jobs, you know. But it didn't happen that way. So now we have that law. It protects women in their jobs, and they can go and raise their children at least for 6 or 9 months at home, like in the most important time of a human being, you know, or the development of their brain. Another thing is childcare. We also have childcare, but not as extended as we wanted. But we have a lot of childcare services that are free, especially for more vulnerable people. But I think childcare is basic, as also Jordan was saying. It really is key for any country. And other thing I would want to highlight, creating those conditions, those laws that can protect us. But another thing that is more intangible, role models. I think it's so important to have more role models. In our country also, putting the example of what I have seen, we have had a women president. And that changes a lot. UNIT was president for 2 times now. And then she worked at the UN as a US Commissioner for Human Rights. And that, I think, changed a lot how we see each other. And personally, also, my mother was a mayor in a city. And I think, you know, we have to think as women that girls are watching us all the time. So we need to think about the responsibility of being role models for them. And that can open paths for so many other women. And if we are in leadership position, also think always of trying to help other women, mentorship, advocating for them. So helping other women. And finally, I want to also highlight that this is not a women issue. This is a societal issue because it's totally related with the possibility of even pension funds. If there are no children, there will no pension funds in the future. We need more workforce, and that cannot be only in the women's shoulders. It's a societal problem, and we need to put more conditions to help the whole society.
thank you. So you kind of lead me into the next. Just want anyone of you to just jump in. Our young sisters of today, our young women of today might see public service is not a place to go, or politics not a place to go. How do we encourage them? What do we offer to them, suggestions that would get them to think about taking a role such as yours or get into where you are? So there's something we can share with everyone in this room on what you think about.
I think that every step women have taken has been always revolutionary. We started with voting, social care, maternal and then so we cannot be stopped because of that, because it's gonna be revolutionary, because it must take place, of course. I would say, from my experience, my point of view, that fortunately, we don't need, at least in Europe, you don't need to demonstrate anymore that you are equal to men. But you need to keep that position. You need to demonstrate that you are capable to work, not better or worse than a man. So you need to keep this position. In my case, for instance, my staff at the consulate are all women. That was when I left, it was like that. I had 3 people, the staff, and I have 6. And I'm very glad that they always, because I feel myself in these positions, and I try to help them to conciliate. Of course, I am very flexible because they work hard, so I cannot deny any permission. No, because my kid is sick, I need to be home early today, or can I not come in tomorrow because he's sick and I need to stay at home with him? Because here, as it was stated, the daycares are all for it's like a luxury problem, like a luxury issue. In Europe, we don't have this problem because you have we are lucky to have daycares, which costs for even for people arriving there. Yeah. It is from since they are born. I mean, you don't need to wait until they turn 6 to bring them to the pharmacy. So, I mean, yeah, from my perspective, it's very, yeah. Our maternity leave is not as long as in Chile. We have 16 weeks, but 16 weeks for father and 16 weeks for the mother, or for both moms. 16 for each other. So it has been a progress there because before it was 15 days old for one of the parents, and nowadays both parents have 16 weeks each. And then you can add some weeks for lactation. So this would be my opinion.
Okay, all right, what about you?
So challenges, I think, I would say that, finding mentors, being mentors, I challenge all of you, is extremely important. The whole belief that if you see it, you can be it, I think is very important. But there's a flip side to that too, because right now politics can be very ugly. And I blame a lot of that on social media, quite frankly. The way women are treated, particularly, can be very difficult. And when younger women see that, they're like, why do I want to do that? So you have to talk about why that voice is so important and why they should step up. And yes, it might be difficult. No one said it was ever going to be easy. Look at some of the other things that have happened, like women's rights to vote and women's rights to healthcare, and the challenges that we've overcome to get to those points. So I think that, recognizing that, yes, it is very challenging to be a woman in leadership, to be a woman in public office. I'm talking mostly from a political perspective, because of that vitriol that is the cyberspace that we all face and see and have probably, maybe a lot of us have experienced. That makes it hard. But I think standing up and talking about why your voice is so important and why you are fighting for this is one of the reasons that it's one of my things. I mean, I always say, if you see a woman who needs a hand up, give it to her. I think it's so important to have those mentors, those people that you can talk to, those people that you can look to for guidance, after I lost the election in 2021, a number of my younger staff particularly would say to me, I always wanted to go into politics and I was so happy to be able to work with you, but now I see what you went through and I don't want to do it. and I was like, no, that's why we need you to do it. That's why we need you, because as long as they win, you know, those voices that are against women in leadership roles, they win if you back down. So I encourage everyone to not back down.
Yeah. Yes. I know.
Yeah, I would make a different suggestion, but maybe it's to include more men.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
it's so important. And one way I think is the good way to include men is show them data.
Yeah.
I think this way of showing them, we need more women in the workforce because companies will function way better if you have more women in corporations. If you have more women happy with their jobs also, they will have better families. You will have better pension. You have a better workforce. So show them the economics behind those benefits of including more women in workforce, in politics, in leadership positions. So including men, I think, is so important. Not seeing men as enemies, but allies. So, and that's why, for example, in this same example that I was saying of one of the programs that we are trying to do, bringing more women in boardrooms. At the beginning, we were thinking of making the program only for women. And I said, no, we should include men because if not, we will stay always the same people talking about the same thing. We need to include them in this conversation because it's a benefit for the whole society. And another thing that maybe I'm kind of against the current is normalizing gaps in career gaps. Because sometimes life is difficult and sometimes you have a sick kid, you know? And it's so many, especially women, that suffer that problem that they have like a career gap of 2 years, 5 years, and they will go back to work and they have to hide that. It's so complicated. And it's like children doesn't exist. So it's so weird, you know? And that normalizing those career gaps is not only for women, for men too. Sometimes you have to choose. You stay home, your husband or your partner, whatever, you know? Normalizing career gaps. I think it's something that I believe that we have to put in the discussion, you know? It is normal. Life works like that, you know? So flexibility. I think it's so important to have a more balanced life.
Thank you. So this, Fernando brought up my next thing was about how do we engage our male leadership and our male allies into the work that we do, right? And I'm so glad you already started talking about that. This is going to be the last thing we're going to talk about, and then we're going to open up for some questions, right? So how about you two? What are your thoughts on how do we engage our male leadership and our allies? Let me get back. So go ahead, talk to them over there.
Yeah. I don't consider men as enemies. Of course, they are part of the society and we women are. So we do include them also. So
I know.
we can see not too many men today, but a few of them.
Okay, I get it. I can see that in Spain. When I was in Rota, let me tell you, I had the best life in Spain. Rota, Cadiz, Jerez, boy, let me tell you, I was spoiled over there. Really, I'm surprised I've not gone back because what Anna is talking about, the life over there, the way the women are treated. Yeah. Oh, I missed that. I was stationed at Rota for a while.
Did you see any difference?
Yeah, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
And I won't even tell you what year I was over there, but it was a big difference. Yeah, I'm not aging myself. No. Oh, Bernadette,
It's true that
yeah.
from a European perspective, it's very different.
It is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very different.
Yeah.
Very different. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And I loved walking on the tiled sidewalks. Yeah. But so what are your thoughts about our male leadership and our allies?
Well, of course, I think, it's just a non-starter. They need to be part of the conversation. A lot of the times I found that it's an education process too, though, not recognizing because they don't face the same things that we face. They don't face the same challenges that we face. To try and, just bring them into the conversation about what it is like to be a woman in politics, or a woman in leadership, some of the challenges so when I was first elected in 2015, in Nova Scotia, which is the province that I was elected in, there were 11 members of parliament. I was the only woman. And we would have regular meetings with our 11, my other 10 counterparts. And the things that, would be brought up, and I'm like, but you're talking like a man. and giving them my perspective on it often would shift the conversation. So I think that education piece and that talking about it piece and recognizing the challenges are different in terms of everything from, childcare. And I love your point about data and showing the data. And even it's sometimes things like, whenever we finished late in the house, so we would be finished and I lived 2 blocks, and I would walk. And I said, but you guys will walk home. And do you walk with pretending that you're on the phone? Do you walk with your keys in your fingers? Do you walk with do you change your shoes before you leave? None of them did, surprisingly, and after that conversation, they all wanted to walk me home every night. But it was just one of those things that they weren't even aware was an issue. So I think that those kind of things, like one of my colleagues had a baby while she was in the house, not literally, but while she, when she was still working, and just wanting to nurse the baby, and just wanting to, there's actually pictures of her nursing at the House of Commons, and it was just a big uproar. It's like, baby needed to be fed. She's the mother. She had to be there to vote. Like, that's the way it works. So, it's just having those conversations, I think that's really, really important too. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go into the next section of questions. And ask the 3 panelists any questions. If you have a question, when you please stand, state your name, could be first name only. If you're with an organization or if you're a college student or whatever your role is, and then the question. And wherever you're standing, give me some time clarity so I can repeat it, so that way others can hear it also. Any questions out there? Oh.
Thank you, ladies, for coming. Good to have all of you. My name is Marjorie. I am with the Master Mission on the Studies of Women, the Administration Director, and I'm very happy to see this group here. I have a question. We talk about 2 things. One is, how do we engage male? So one of the things I was thinking, being a mom, which the conversation came up on nurturing children. And I said, it's really funny on how we women are nurturing these men to become. What would be our responsibilities, which I want to hear from you guys as mothers, and what is it that you do to ensure that this pattern doesn't continue?
So it's for sons or just all male in their life?
Well, I would say sons. And you are the one.
So as a mother, what would you do as nurturing the sons in your atmosphere to be, men that understand and support?
I'm a mother of 4 boys. Grown-up boys. So it's hard. It's hard because they are also raised in a society that talks different. So I think it's such an important role of ourselves as mothers to, talking to them also not as Consul Jordan said, not as a man, because sometimes I believe I am in a house with 4 boys and a husband. So you tend to start talking like a male too, and, and with facts all the time. And I started thinking, no, I have to show more my emotions because that's the way I am. you know? So they can understand more women, like how women think. We are different. I believe we are different. So trying to show more how we are, and also like always stating the respect for women. Always. I think it's an educational. I don't think now of another like advice, but always trying to build on showing always respect for women and showing what women is in its essence.
Yeah, I see that. I grew up in a house of 4 brothers. Yeah, we won't even talk about some of those stories. Anything else on how to nurture and raise a son?
Yeah, I think it's part of education, daily education. Kids get at home. I have a boy and a girl, so I give exactly the same education to one.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I have 2 boys, and a non-binary child. And I would say that my kids know that their mother has never been afraid to stand up for women. And that they better be standing with her.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's, you know,
Yeah.
that's just always the way it's been.
My brothers too. They'll
Yeah.
tell you. Boy, let me.
Oh, my brothers were like that.
You have a question on this side?
Hi, ladies, thank you so much. We've done an excellent job of staying away from the current political climate, and I'm wondering if we can speak to the future, what you think of the relations between us, learning from each other, regardless of this administration, or maybe in spite of it, because of it, and what positive things can we put not only on the next 4 years in working together, but then like maybe even beyond that, but of course, in the carry on what we're feeling.
Yeah, I think that, you go first. You're kind of the ones on the hot seat here. I would say that, you know, I'm not going to comment on domestic politics in the US. That's not my role. I will say that Canada has always been a friend to the United States, that we will continue to work, you know, with the United States to get over this hump, because I think that the relationship is so long and so strong that we have to continue to have these kind of conversations. That, you know, outside of government, it's important to build connections so that those connections are there when all of this passes. Yeah. So we will continue to engage with, you know, organizations like yours, with our state representatives, with, you know, even the federal representatives here, because at some point that will all end, and we want to make sure that the relationship stays strong.
Yeah. We'll get off the couch one day. Yeah.
Just leave you.
Yep. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Gloria Muzier. As consulates, of course, embassies of countries, of states, right? And the consulates are an extension of the country itself. So now in this room right now, we don't only have you as representatives, as powerful women, but we have 3 countries right here, and represented by women.
Yes.
The month of March. Now, the question that I have for you is an area of women's leadership that is not talked about too much, and that interests me as a female pastor. Are you able to talk to us a little bit in your own country or in the sphere of influence, or even in countries that you serve as consulate, for example, here, right? As an extension of the country, the condition of women in faith communities, in church or faith communities, in your country, and how do you think they are weapons? Do you think there are challenges, and how you see them fit in terms of how they can, we can promote, or they are passionate this type of thing, such as myself. Thank you.
But that side of the room, the question is around women in the faith communities. How do you see working or future or development and so on?
And as you know, as you may know, Spain has traditionally been a Catholic country, and you also know this has been closed, let's say, to women. So I don't know if it will happen one day to see women stations there, but
Yeah, that's a good one, you know, and Catholic.
we're getting more and more diversity.
We're doing better.
Yeah, we're getting more and more diversity of religions in the country, but there's still a long path.
All right.
I can only speak to the community where I live, and the community where I represented, the district or riding that I used to represent. And I would say that the women in faith leadership that I dealt with, and there were a number of them, took a very different approach to governance and politics than a lot of their male counterparts. They were oftentimes more vocal about supporting LGBTQ2+. They were more vocal about supporting, working together interfaith, as opposed to this is us, this is them. I would see in my area, my community, the Lutheran minister, the United minister, the Presbyterian minister, all do they were all women, and they would all get together and do a regular service once every few months for each other. So I think it gave them each a day off too, because somebody else would cover their congregation. But I think that I noticed that more. They were also very open to Canada passed the medical assistance in dying laws. And basically, if someone was at end of life, they were able to ask for assisted dying. And the women in the faith community that I dealt with, like I said, I'm only speaking from my own experience, were very open to having the conversations about what this meant for faith communities, more so I found than others in the faith community.
Yeah, say that the role of women is so important in faith because, every children generally learn the first prayers from their mothers. So since they're very little, the first thing that they know about faith are generally from their mothers. So I think that would be forever, it's something that's stable. But as Ana was saying, Chile is also a Catholic country. And I believe there is still an important role for women in churches in general. But I think we need a more important role there, absolutely. Because we already are doing like the transmission of faith in our families in such an important way. So I think it's huge, the responsibility that we have, and it's also a beautiful job that we have to
Yes. All right. Looking at the clock, I'm always being really positive. Oh, go ahead. Question.
Rep Davis in the Third Berkshire District. Thank you so much, Chair Turek and my colleagues that are here. There's so many things I identify with you. I'm a single parent. I lived in Ireland for 12 years. I was a college lecturer and raised my kids while I was breastfeeding and juggling the childcare and teaching and so forth. But I would like to speak to Chair Tuitt about military service, and thank you for your service. My youngest daughter is at the Air Force Academy, United States Air Force Academy. She's 19. And what we're seeing is, some of the attacks coming in women in combat, women in the military. And I'm really, watching my daughter go through the military experience at the academy in Colorado Springs and seeing that I, as a mother, as a woman, feel so uplifted to see for colleagues that are also females and also, doing the job. So I'd love to, have you speak a little bit about, being a woman in that, realm, and what can we do to uplift our colleagues that are, working so hard to do, you know, to serve our country yet are, you know, under, you know, so thank you.
Thank you. So,
She was honest, but she was a mechanic too.
I'm not
She
gonna,
was-
I'm not gonna age myself. One of the things I do speak on a lot, and especially with our young sisters in the military that are military attached at the moment, the struggles that you go through, one is a female, right? So I stand here and I say, and I talk about it all the time. I'm one, female. Two, I'm a female of color. Three, I was an immigrant, right? So I wasn't born in this country. And four, I grew up in a household where I was told that because I was a girl, I had to fight harder. So when I went through boot camp, I went in boot camp very mousy, and I came out of boot camp not mousy, right? I stood taller, I spoke louder, right? And what I say to the sisters that I talk to now, because I am a supporter of joining the military. If you want to go to college, go to college. But military might be sometimes that's better for you. Even as a woman, we used to be invisible. People didn't know women were in the military. I don't know how that's possible. We've been in the military since Revolutionary War, right? Here in the Massachusetts, we talk about Deborah Sampson, and I was Deborah Sampson 2024. I got awarded last year for that. But I want to talk about Kathy Williams, who was in the Civil War. I want to talk about Susie King Taylor, who was a nurse in the Civil Army, in the Union Army. I want to talk about the fact that being invisible in the military is not what we're supposed to do. So we started coming out. We're out, we're not invisible, but we're still in the shadow, right? So I'm saying to everyone in this room, military attached, female or male, whatever, if you know them, support them. Talk to them. Send them letters. Send them care packages. My mom used to send me a box. I had cookies, cakes, I had coconut turnovers, I had all. So if a box came to the barracks door with my name on it, all of my comrades would be like, your mom sent the box. And I'll be like, yeah, what your mom said. Like, but I shared. But the thing is that they need to speak to home. They need to talk, especially as a female in the military, because you still have those gender issues and you have it more because we are all supposed to have each other's back. So they want to make sure that you can handle covering their back. So they want to give you a harder time than they typically would their girlfriends or their mothers or their sisters, because how am I going to know you're going to have my back correctly? If somebody comes at me, I need to know you're going to be behind there to stop that person, right? So tell her, keep on, because if you want, I'd be pen pal. I love a sister in the military. My comrade that's here with me, she's Army, we forgive her. But Navy, Army, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, National Guard, Army Guard, Space Force, all of those. We all need to stand together and protect our young sisters that are going in. We have the highest number of people entering into the military now. Women. We passed the ASVAB higher now than the men. Here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we have the Women's Veterans Network, right? And we need to support them as much as we can, because there are women who are out there who do not identify, who don't even tell their family members that they are veterans, that they've served in the military, because they're still unsure of how they're going to be treated, right? So she's going through the academy, kudos to her, right? And tell her don't get out after the first contract. Stay in, retire. Do your 21 years, get your pension, but there's some of us out here that had injuries and we are fighting for our claims, fighting for our percentages, and we get denied, right? I did 14 years. I wanted to live in the military because on the base was a different life, but it's always about the same struggles. It's, as a woman, you have those struggles. You have to be able to carry your toolbox. So you have to be able to do what you're doing on the flight line. You have to know how to hump that rucksack, because that rucksack weighs more than you, right? So I say to her, kudos and don't stop, So I see so a QR code for feedback survey. Please do the feedback survey. So here's our call to action. We're asking you next steps. Is this something you want to see again? How, conversations, global conversations, because for us to be able to make change here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we have to understand what's happening for women across the world, right? I stand here feminist, suffragist, I'm just alpha female, right? And it's really something I wanna say thank you to my sisters that are here on the panel, because let me tell you, we're family now. I'm on my way to Scotland to go visit my new mom, right? Consul General Bernadette is taking me with her. I've been to Spain, but I want to go back. Chile, I haven't gone there yet, but so let me know, sister. But let me tell you, we have to adopt each other, because when we stand together, it's like building a brick wall. Foundation is important, because to crumble a brick wall is a big boulder, right? Straw you can set on fire, wood you can set on fire, but brick, you have to have one of those little cranes with the big bulldozer thingy, right? So let's be brick walls. Let's build that foundation. Let's grow together and let's stand together. And what can we do together is up to us, right? But we got to keep on. So anything you want to say, last comments to the crowd, ladies?
Lift each other up.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I'm Executive Director for the Women's Caucus at the State House, right across the street. Thank you so much, General Counsel. Thank you so much, the Commission on Status Women, for organizing. Happy to partner with you. I just have a last note. I want my members at the front of the program. I really appreciate it. That's about it.
So we do
Don't
everybody,
do a group picture.
everybody, come on up.
If you don't mind, let's do a
If you
group
want.
picture, right? If you want to be in the picture, no pressure, and then, I know. Not many people do that.
I know.
Even Tom Short with a man. Yes, ma'am.
I can stand there. Women Caucus members, can you just get into the photo real quick?
Yes.
Everybody. Women Caucus members.
Yo, how about you get people in there? No. Okay. There we go.
All right, right here.
You got everybody
Yeah, look at the official camera.
on the side, sis.
Okay.
Nurse. Oh, sorry. I forgot you.
Okay, we got all the reps.
Yes.
Where's my Berkshire go? Berkshire go. Oh, good. That's your best.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Right here, and last one. Perfect.
All right, come on. Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Everybody jumped up.
We might have a picture. Wow.
There's chairs in the front. Come on.
Right here. Bring some chairs.
Wait, just a little bit here, if you don't mind, just a little. I'm losing you guys.
Everybody in, come close.
Oh, good.
Okay, there we go.
Got it?
We're in.
And losing at the pink jacket.
Pink jacket, okay. Oh, switch to the same.
Oh, there we go. Ooh.
There we go.
Oh, well.
All right.
Okay, lovely. Okay, give me a 1, 2, 3, go women, ready? 1, 2, 3.
There you go. She loves her videos.
I forgot. I'll text you. And take my card. Yeah. If you need anything, you let me know. Yeah. Olivia. Ellen. It's very nice to meet you. I wish I had my cards with me. I work in